All right. Parashat Vayeshev.
My parsha.
Which parsha is it?
Yeah, we're doing today because tomorrow they're going to Shabbaton. So Parashat Vayeshev. In this parasha, there's like so many things going on. I mean, Bichlal, Sefer Bereshit altogether is so loaded. But this parasha, fascinating. Somewhere along the line, we all struggle with this parasha or similar situations that happen in this parasha. And Parashat Vayeshev starts with the pasuk, with the verse, Vayeshev Yaakov be'eretz megurei aviv. And he settled down, Yaakov settled down in the land of where his forefathers had rested, had settled. Rashi tells us that based on the Midrash, it says, Bikesh Yaakov leishev beshalva. Yaakov wanted to, call it easy, like tranquilo, like, let's retire now, kol tov yafe, it's all good, Kafat alav rugzo shel Yosef. All of a sudden, bam, problems with Yosef had started. So, there's a great question is, really, the Tzadik, there's such a person, does not deserve a little bit of chill out time to relax a little bit? I mean, why did he have to be like this? After all his suffering, after all he had to go after, Esav, Lavan, or and then Esav again, and then Dinah.
His wife passed away.
His wife passed away, You can, by the way, make sure you eat only vegetables. Be careful with the fish, especially you. Unless I'm just telling you, I don't care, right? So, why he cannot have a little bit of chill out time? I mean, what's the problem here? I think we could say that the answer to that really is kind of the backbone of this whole entire parasha and all the different stories in a way that go through this portion of the Torah and in a way extends to our lives as well. And we need to understand that. It's very, very, very important to understand that. When a tzaddik, a person of that caliber, rests or retires too early, the world delays from or slows down in its ability to elevate itself. There's a delay in the world. The world needs to grow. Somebody needs to be the catalyst in which will make this world grow. What do you mean you're taking a break? What do you mean you're resting? Why is that? The rest of the tzaddik is therefore a very dangerous act to a world that has not yet fixed itself. In other words, an unfixed world. Rabbeinu Bachye writes the following. He says, Yeshiva melamedet al shlemut. Settle down, resting means that, like I'm done now, As, by the way, we see from the concept of keeping Shabbat. Shabbat mishum Shevet. Shabbat, Shevet. Right?
Yeah.
Don't cry Shevet, ela Shabbat. Right? When we keep Shabbat, we hint and we direct our actions, our thoughts to the world of perfection, to the world that is fixed already, to the way God created the world perfect, and we and what we did, now we need to fix it. So this resting represents a world that it's already fixed. It's all fixed. It's all good. And lema'aseh, practically speaking, Yaakov did not finish his job yet. Did not complete his duty yet. By the way, where's Johnny? Did not finish his job, right? And what was his job? To bring the kedusha into Egypt, which is the beginning of the galut, right? Yaakov wanted to be what we call an ol makif, a surrounding light, tranquility, of perfection. Everything is good. Now I can sit down. Now the job is done. Let me sit back. Let me relax. Let me look at everything from there. Oh, that's good. Yaakov wanted to do so, but the job was not done yet. His job was to bring about the root of the Geula. The root of the Geula has to be brought to the world, and he hasn't done it yet. So, says the Baal Sfat Emet, when a Tzadik is asking for this kind of timeout, this retirement, he stops bringing light to the world. And when there's no light, darkness jumps. And the world is still full of obstacles and unfinished business that if you don't have the light of the tzaddik, of the righteous person to shine in our way, we all going to stumble on these things. We all going to fall. We all going to stumble. So Yaakov hasn't gone yet to Mitzrayim, to Egypt. And that going down was necessary in order to go up. Pay attention. This going down was necessary to go up. The Maharal explains to us that Yeshiva, what we call settling down or resting or retiring, is a matter of keva. It's, in other words, that's I'm settling there. And the time to settle down was not there yet. In other words, I'm there, it's not there yet. However, in this world that we are at, there's no such thing as permanent without moving, without changing. Everything is always moving, always changing. The world itself, the whole universe is in constant movement. Constant movement. It's moving. The earth rotates around itself, rotates around the sun. The whole solar system rotates inside the Milky Way. The Milky Way rotates within the whole dances, with the celestial dance over there, with all those stars and galaxies, and the universe goes up, and crazy movement. It's movement all the time. This is this world. That's why Shabbat me'en ha'olam haba. When you are keeping Shabbat, you are saying, right now, I'm experiencing the world to come. Me'en ha'olam haba. It is like the other world. In other words, I'm resting. But right now, 6 days you got to work. You got to do something. So, since there is always movement, right? And when a person tries to create a point of lack of movement in a world that is always moving, you're always going to have resistance. Things are not going to go your way. There's going to have resistance. In other words, you are creating your problem when you're going against the movement of this world or the way the world is. The Gra adds that the true tzaddik never escapes from the world. He does not escape from the world. He doesn't go sit down in a cave and never comes out and so on and so forth. But rather, he brings the light into the matter. He brings the or el chomer. Just by the way, like right now, next week, Be'ezrat Hashem, going to light the candles. That's exactly what it is. We need to bring the light into the chomer, into the material. We need to elevate the murkiness of materialism. We need to elevate it into spirituality. So Yaakov, right? Yaakov doesn't need a tent or doesn't need a house. He needs to go down to Egypt in order to create. What to create, as we said before, with the sushi, in order to create the root of what? The root of redemption, the root of Geula. The Zohar says, yes, Yosef,
Yesod.
Tzadik Yesod Olam. You love this parasha, right? Yosef, I wish I was a Yosef. Right? That's.
What's the song?
I wish I was a rich man. He says, I wish I were, with all this stuff, he's willing to keep a couple of Yosef stuff, but give me the other stuff, right? So he says, Yosef Tzadik Yesod Olam. Yesod, of course, represents the sphera, or the attribute of Yesod, that all the heavenly forces channel into it in order to give to Malchut. So, in a way, Yesod is that pipe in which the divine abundance, the Shefa Eloki, goes down to this world. That's why he needs to go to where? To the lowest places. He needs to go to the extremities, to the end of all the limbs, in order for it to bring chayut, livelihood to that. Because if, for example, let's say, for example, let's go this way. Yesod is a spiritual artery that brings the life force to all the extremities of the body. If, for example, you have teeny little veins in your foot, that are clogged or whatever it is, you could lose a toe, you could even lose a foot. Yesod, the Yosef, is to bring all the Shefa all the way out. All the way out. If you understand that, you'll understand why Am Yisrael is also in Galut. By the way, you should know any country in the world, and this is all to all the Jew lovers out there, any countries in the world that host the Jews in a nice manner and allow them to practice their Judaism without persecution was winning over the world. Any nation, and this is, you don't believe me, check history. Any nation that treated the Jews badly end up to be bad. Any nation that kicked the Jews out or caused the Jews to live out, to move out of it, fell down. That's the rule. That's the way it works. You're going to tell me once again, World War II, Japan was a part of the forces of axis of evil. But don't forget, there's a guy named Sugihara. He saved all the Jews from Mir, like a few thousand people, and because of that, there's Yeshiva today in Yerushalayim, in America, and all over the free world. Maybe the schut that Japan has is saving all these people. We don't know. There was a big community in Shanghai, right? All the Jews came from there. We don't know what it is, but a fact is a fact. You call it whatever you want. A fact is a fact. Look at Spain. Spain was an empire. The Jews were there. They were doing good. They kicked the Jews out. The decline started. It's not going to happen overnight, but the decline started today. What's Spain? A bunch of lowlifes over there. Nothing. Running over by immigrants from who knows where. What's Spain today? Nothing. Nada. Anywhere like this. Russia fought for the Jews World War II also. They helped the Jews. They were good. They gave the Jews a hard time. Jews left. No, look at Russia today. They're like going for a war. I don't know how many years against Ukraine. They can't win the war.
What about India? I say India was very good to the Jews.
Well, that's why India is actually good for the Jews now. And look at India. It's flourishing.
No, I'm saying before it got terrible things happened, even though they were good to the Jews.
I don't know. But the Jews would not harm in India. So, what do you think India today is where it is? Anywhere in history. That's even I forgot which English king. I think it was Richard. I forgot who it was. I mean, there was a time that the Jews were expelled from England. Later on, to beg the Jews to come back because they brought prosperity with them. So before you go ahead and be a Jew hater, why don't you first of all be a Jew appreciated and start appreciating what the Jews do to your country? And because the food that you eat, for all you know, might be because there's a Jew over there being able to practice his religion. We are in a way that, or should be that, anywhere we go. We're spread out in the world to bring good to the world. Now, when Yosef does it, right? So he's the main pipe, he's the main spiritual artery, and that's why he has to go to the lowest places to bring the light to those places. The light means the force of life. Call it chi, call it whatever you want. It's bring Hashem into these places. Excuse me. The Kabbalah teaches us that the light of the Yesod, the greatest light of Yesod is specifically in the darkness. Like a river, sometimes there's a place upstate, there's a river that goes underground. Just like the river that goes underground, right? It brings, without knowing, nourishment to places that are so far away, you don't even know that. Yosef lived exactly like that. Yosef was exactly like that. In Sefer Malbish Melech of Rabbi Machluf Abu Chatzera. עכשיו אתה יודע. And other Mekubalim, mainly the Sephardi Mekubalim, it says, he goes down, Yosef goes down to the beginning to where? Goes down to the bore. Then he goes down, when he goes down to Potiphar, right? What happened in Potiphar? He goes down, everything is good, right? He went to the bore. His brothers put him to the bore. Into the, whoa, right? His brothers put him into the pit. All right. They take him out, they send him to Potiphar. Potiphar, everything is going good, man. He's doing well, he's rocking, everything is good. What happens there? Boom! Goes into the pit again, goes into jail. You want some sushi, Orly? You want sushi, Motek? Yalla. Good to see you. צריך להגיד ברכה עכשיו, ממש. מחיי המתים אולי. So, he goes to Bet Asurim. And every stage that he goes through, he brings the nitzotzot, the holy sparks, he brings them further down to touch that low level in order for it to be able to go up. In order for it to be able to go up. So therefore, going down is not a punishment. Going down a level is not a punishment, but rather a mission. It's a mission. You went down because you were up here. You were like, I don't need to worry with these guys in the mud. You're gonna go now. You want, because why? I don't want to get dirty. I don't want to mess up with this. I pay my dues to society. Habibi, you haven't paid anything. You're going to fall down. And while you go down, you're going to be there because of who you are, do the tshuva, do the necessary stages that you need, and then you bring it up. Of course, this is not a reason, all right, guys, so let's do some averot and we are not shabtai tzvi, right? Yeah. That you cannot do. But everybody would fall down, but the going down in that matter is for you not to understand, not to give up. And you're going to bring other things with you. The Baal Shem Tov says that before a great incline, there's always a falling down. And Yosef needs to touch the bottom of the pit, as they say. That's why he goes specifically to the pits. That's what happened to him. The bringing the Geulah, the way redemption is going to come, is only going to come when we're going to say Mima'amakim. And I'm not talking about, what's his name, Idan Reichel Ma'amakim. I'm talking about Mima'amakim Keraticha Hashem. I'll call you down from the bottom of the pit. Right? I'm going to call you down from the bottom of the pit. I'm talking about the pit. Right? And we said, Habor Reik. So what happens in a soul that not has a telephone, a soul that doesn't have a Torah in it, right? So therefore, it says aborek and bomaim. Chazal says aval nachashim ve'akrabim, snakes and scorpions, they are in it. So what does it exactly mean? In Sefer Chovat HaLevavot it says when a place is empty from anything that is good, there's nothing good there, immediately it fills up with not good. There's no vacuum. You need to understand, as we said in the morning, right? Aseh tov, sur mira, ve'aseh tov. Sur mira, okay, I don't do anything bad. But I don't do anything bad, it's not good enough. Now you have to fill up with something good. Sur mira, ve'aseh tov. You have to look for chesed, and then you have to chase after it. One good thing, okay, but are you doing anything? As they say in the street, it's not just talk the talk, it's also walk the walk. You need to fill it up with something positive. We need to fill up with something positive. In other words, there is no such thing in the spiritual world as emptiness, right? And if we know, when we talk about it, right? When we say, Kol tzameh, lechu lamayim, right? If you're thirsty, go to drink water. Of course, where should I be going? Going to have a beer or something? No, if I'm thirsty, I drink water. Ve'en mayim ela Torah. And water is always represented with Torah. Shenemar Torat chesed al leshona. And mayim is chesed, and that's what the correlation between the two. When a person learns Torah, he brings chesed to the world. When a person sits down on the phone and looks, he doesn't do anything. Not only, it's not that he's not doing something good, he's filling it up with something bad. So now, when a person leaves a place that is a spiritual desert, he gets filled with fears, anxieties, imaginations, yetzer, urges, desires, uncontrolled desires. Well, because there's nothing in it. It either yes, and there's no in between. It's either black or white, either spiritual, either Torah, either life, or that which is death. Because why is it death? Because when you live this kind of life, your life is not life. And if your life is not life, well, what is it? You're an amoeba? What are you? If your life is not life, you're dead. If you live with fears, and you are captive of your desires, and you have uncontrolled anxieties, well, why? כי לא למדת תורה. You don't work on your ביטחון. אין לך ביטחון בהשם. You don't even have confidence in yourself. This kind of life is not life. Well, if it's not life, there's death. There's no in-between stages. Either you're alive or you're dead. So the Mekubalim says, a pit is a malchut belo shefa. Malchut, which is the kli, the vessel, without anything to fill it up, anything spiritual to fill it up. The bore is what we call a shechina bechesrona. In other words, the shechina is alone. It doesn't have anything for the shechina to fill itself in. You haven't created a good vessel to do so. We need to connect between that and that. We need to connect. And who is that? Is us. Yesod mishum foundation. You need to have a solid foundation. And if you were not born and have the luxury of having a solid foundation, well, that's okay. Well, you can go and acquire it. Go do something about it. Don't say, well, it's not my family. What can I do? And we'll talk about this later on. Be'ezrat Hashem. Right? So when we're talking about this, Yosef going down to fix the malchut, right? There is a hole in malchut that cannot hold the bracha in, right? It removes, it clears it all up, right? And then he brings in Mayim Chaim. Mayim Chaim, in other words, Mei Chesed. Mei Chesed. Water of grace. In other words, he brings Torah to this place. Now, of course, there's another element. There are many elements that are repetitive this week, especially about Yosef, is his clothing. There's so much stories about Yosef and his clothing. So they're talking about ripping his clothing and this and this. So ripping the clothing, we have to understand, this clothing is symbolic of a process of tikkun, or fix up as well. So the clothing of Yosef are getting ripped and ripped again and again and again. Whether it's the kutonet pasim, his garment that his father gave him, they got ripped, right? Whether it's the clothing that Potiphar gave him, that his wife ripped of him, right? Until he reaches a point that he's getting what we call beged malchut. He's already dressed up as a royalty. But in order to dress up with royalty clothing, he needs to have all the other garments being pulled away from him. The Zohar explains that a levush, clothing, is a madriga, is a certain level to be at. And when this levush is being ripped, when this garment is being ripped, it's a sign that something higher is coming. Okay? Because if I'm wearing something, I cannot wear, for example, another shirt on me. In order to wear another shirt, I need to take this one off and then put something else. So when your clothing, so-called, these are all spiritual, hints. So when the begadim are ripped, and you see every time his clothing were ripped, he went from a low place to a higher place. It got ripped again, he went to a higher place until he reached what he was, Sheni LaMelech, Malchut. And he became the Malchut. When he reached that level of Malchut, he was metaken, whatever needs to be fixed. He fixed whatever needs to be fixed.
How is he higher going from Yaakov's house to Potiphar's house?
Because what happened in Yaakov's house? Yaakov's house, he was sitting down, everything is good. Habibi, it's not your job to sit down to do good. Your father didn't want to do it, your son will do it. The son will do it. Yaakov wants to sit down, okay, we're going to bring him down. Excuse me. We're going to humble you, we're going to bring you down. You're going to come down, and when you're going to come down, now it's good. Not a problem. Going to be elevated up. Going down, yes, from his father's house to the bore. He had to go to the bore. He had to go to the bore. Why? To be able to go up. He had to do it. He didn't want to. Who wants to do it? Who wants? Anybody wants to fall down into? I mean, you're sitting down. Let's say, for example, you're on vacation right now, right? I'm vacation. Listen, Shlomo, do me a favor. We need some help here. Say, listen, man, I'm on vacation. Leave me alone. I'm on vacation. Leave me alone. Call somebody else. Call Hatzala. Call somebody else. Call Shomrim, Chaverim, Chaverot, whatever. But I'm on vacation, man. Okay. You don't want to do it this way? Fine. Terrific.
What about the other examples of like people changing their clothes, so to speak, like Rabbi Gadav, And like whenever
Anytime that there is kriyat begadim, removing of clothing, it means going from one level to another level, or symbolizes a transition that you need to take. You need to understand
so
that's coming
Yaakov,
away.
when he was basically, he thought that Yosef was dead. He was
Yeah.
elevating himself in a certain sense.
No, that's not about the begadim. It's not talking about the clothing here. We're talking about clothing.
Yeah, but it says Vayikra begadav. He rips the clothing.
Vayikra begadav, he ripped it, right? Because he's now down. He himself is down. When it's being ripped of you. When it's being taken off you. Right? When a person something bad happens to him, he rips his clothes, right? It means that something bad happened. It's okay. Now something expect, but you should be able to be willing to make the movement. It's just to go up. So now, and that is a very big lesson. The lesson is like this: we like to complain, and usually we always blame God. You get a parking ticket, wow, God's fault. What do you mean, God? Well, hey, God. Wait a minute. You don't see what was going on. You don't see the thing. Anything like this, we always blame. Stop blaming people. Stop looking for people to blame. Understand the process of what exactly is happening. So any kind, and in Chassidut they say that breaking the klippah, the clothing a la klippot, breaking the klippah in a way, when did we start having clothing? When we created the sin of Adam HaRishon, right? And then right away they had to put clothing on. Beged mishum begida, betrayal, like boged. Beged boged, right? So therefore we betrayed God's will, and we had to put clothing on. That's why it's tzniut. When a person is dressed up in tzniut, he says, I understand that it's still a journey for me to do. There's a fix-up of the world that needs to be done. I'm not yet hankaderi pichikin. The world is like we have to go now back to a nudist colony, like it was in Gan Eden. It's a sign of understanding. It's a spiritual statement that I'm making when I dress up in tzanua. That's why I said, men should not wear, alachot tzniut is not only for women. It's not restrictive. It's a spiritual expression. And you need to understand, you need to come to terms with that. Now, so the Chassidut, they say that breaking the klippah only comes to reveal the pnimiyut inside of you. To reveal whatever is inside. Yosef needs to go this breakage of identities. He was putting masks on himself. He was one time, making his hair. Then he was sitting by his daddy. It was daddy's favorite, right? You need to break away from that. We need to. You don't want to do it yourself. It's fine. Life will teach you a lesson. Why is that? Because in order for the true essence of who we are that will come into a light, you need to really undress yourself from all this facade and all these shows that you put on for everybody like that. The Maharal says that every levush is a stage, an in-between stage. Let's put it this way. The first garment cannot really hold the future, whatever happened in the past, so therefore you need to go to different types of clothing, right? And that's the Sefer HaLevush, right? Until you read to the what? Bigdei Shesh, like what's his name? Mordechai was wearing, right? Which is Levush Malchuti, Bigdei Shesh, boots, Ve'argaban, and look at all the clothing that he had to wear. These are not just like a description of clothing you have to wear. These are spiritual stages that Yaakov had to go through. That Mordechai had to go through in order to be able to become, advisor to Achashverosh. And so are we. Now, and then it says, Vayehi et Yosef. Oh man, this is too long. And then it says, Vayehi et Yosef, right? Vayehi et Yosef is when it tells us that, in other words, the Shekhinah is in darkness now, and in the darkest point of you going down on the stages, all of a sudden this pasuk comes. Yosef is going down, and he's in jail, there's another one, and then all of a sudden, Vayehi et Yosef, right? Vayehi Hashem et Yosef, and God was with Yosef. So the Or HaChaim says,
this was before he was thrown.
Yes, but there's something in it. But the Or HaChaim says that Yosef is the vessel in which the light dwells in, even in the greatest place of Tumah. In other words, there was no more tameh place than Mitzrayim, right? Because Hashem was Matzliach, anything there, Hashem was Matzliachim, right? He was in the house of Potiphar, everything was fine. He became Ish Matzliach, right? He goes to jail, everything is good. Because why? Because Hashem is with him. So Yosef discovers that really in a place that seems like even that there's no God there. There's no God there. God is still there. Then the biggest test is of the Tzadik is not when everything is working his way. Everything is my way, everything is good. Everybody says to me, oh, shalom, Rabbi, how are you? And so on and so forth. But rather when you are at the lowest point, this is really the biggest test for you. Not of the arrogance. When things don't go your way and all of a sudden you like shattered, oh my goodness, whatever I thought. No. Now we'll see really if what you preached was really what you believe in. And the Ramban explains that the success, right, that what we call revealed success, everybody says, oh wow, right, is really comes from hashgacha nisteret, from divine intervention that is really hidden. Why? Because when there are no open miracles, there is a special providence on you. When there's no open miracles, that providence is very intimate, it's very personal. Now, it's not for everybody to see, it's just between you and God. So, and when this would come, and all of a sudden you see that, you know what, it happens, and that's the ma'ala of Rabbi Nachum Ish Gamzu, Gamzulatava. It's also good. This is good. It's okay. It's okay. Whatever happened, I don't know, you lost something, it's okay. It's a thing. It's okay. Let go of it. Let go of this. And all of a sudden you see that this was a good thing. This was actually a good thing. And it's a very big foundation for us to understand, and we fail on this time and time again. Whether it's your loss of your job, or you missed a train, or you got a flat tire, or your car was stolen, or it's
Parking ticket.
Or whatever it is. It's all for the best. It's all for the best. I mean, and we need to understand this. This is something that we need to internalize on that. The Zohar says that the nitzotz of Mashiach, the whole concept of Mashiach, is only being created or is being revealed from a place of complications and darkness and uncertainty and what we call hester panim. It's darkness. Mashiach is not going to come where we're all like sitting like this, learning. It's not going to come. Only, and you see throughout history, whether it's Ma'aseh Tamar, right? What? Whether it was Lot, whether it was David, everything, it's all when things were difficult, were bad, and so on and so forth. It's not when everything is good and now, let's just, okay, excuse me, can anybody call Mashiach, please? We're ready. It's not going to happen like this. Why? Because Mashiach needs to come from a place that we will ourselves went down to the lowest part, and then we brought it up with us. From that movement up, that's when Mashiach is going to come. As it says, Mashiach ben David comes only from a broken place to fix what's broken. But we need to understand that through the cracks that are broken, that's where the light actually penetrates. That's where the light comes through, from the cracks. And that's why it's very important to really internalize the moments of difficulty and accept them and move on with it. In Chassidut, the word pirza, right, is a hint for us to actually reveal whatever is hidden. Through that crack, through that opening, the truth can come in. When reality falls apart, when everything that you know is the world as we know it is all falling apart. Guys, I don't think I need to tell you at what situation we are at. The world as we knew it, even 5 years ago, it's not the same world. It's not. But so you're going to tell me, okay, so are we at the footsteps of Mashiach? I'll tell you, you better believe it. But together with the better believe it, you got to now earn it. You got to start, instead of going into panic and panicking, you need to start doing things. You need to start activating this ability inside each and every one of us to take this difficulty and turn it into a good thing. And we need to understand that. So only through when reality, the world as we know it falls apart, only through that the beginning or the formation of salvation is going to come to happen. That's why we all had to go through the darkest place, which is Egypt. Of course, the message for today is that a person, that we could see in this parasha is how a person meets his soul, right, and the fixing of the midot, of the qualities, right? Which, if we're going to say that the pit is anger and jealousy and not counting yourself or others for that matter. The bore, the pit represent anything that there's no live water in it, that gets filled with scorpions and snake and so on and so forth. We need to understand that anytime we fall down means that you are not far from the goal. Don't give up. Don't give up. If you fell, means that right now it's time for me to get up. So we need to continue doing that. It means that right now our job is to really be able to go up. So right now, from this point, it's just climbing up, right? And with this work, this ability that we need to go up, we need to, first of all, create also responsibility. We need to create stability in our life. And Yosef is able to be successful in any place, in any situation he was fallen. Why? Because he is in a constant Asiya, in a constant movement of making things, of doing things. He was not sitting down like this, like, oh, life is all good, bring me the hookahs and we'll eat shish kebabs, and please, you go a little bit more with the palm trees, and excuse me, where are the olives? It's not a Mel Brooks movie. You gotta roll your sleeves and you gotta work. You gotta work, because that's what needs to be done. That's what it is. There's no such thing as a miracle. There's such thing as hard work, being a hard worker, not being lazy, accepting the difficulties of experiences that we go, the challenges of life that we go, because through that we see the involvement of God in our lives all the time. We tend to forget that God runs the world, so therefore He's going to remind you, and through that you see Him. When we are creating vessels that are capable to hold the light inside, right? We need to understand that that's our job, to create those appropriate vessels to hold the light, so the vessels would not shatter when the light hits them, as happened in the other worlds, right? That's why we need to be in constant movement. The person should not look for pleasures, to go to Aruba, to go to Bahama, to go to, Turks and Caicos, and to go to all these places, right? Because that will bring you problems. You're going to look for that will bring you problems. And Yaakov wanted to sit down quietly, and he shouldn't have, and that's why Yosef gets the going down. Yosef needs to go down. And because he was willing, so-called, in the spiritual to be able to go down and actually go through everything, because of that, he became what? He became king, right? That's why we need to strengthen our emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the divine providence over us, because any going down is for a purpose. And that's why you see people that go into horrible places many times become religious. They start believing God. Jews and not Jews alike. Jews and not Jews alike. I told it down a certain observation that I see. Like, for example, you see it a lot now. A lot of people who are, special ops people, Navy SEALs and so on and so forth, all of a sudden they're all finding religion again. They're finding faith. Because what they had to go through. A guy that sits in somewhere, in sitcom, sitting over there, in Las Vegas and operating, he doesn't go through any of these things. But when you see the gore of war, and you see good friends that are being blown to smithereens and so on and so forth, you understand, you reach the bottom, now it's time to go out. And usually they found God. Look how many people while they were captives by Hamas found God and were not willing to change their fate when they could kill them. And they said, no, we're not. I'm not going to become Muslim. And as a matter of fact, not only are I going to become Muslims, you guys get me siddur. I need to daven. And the guy never davened. Oh, get me now. I want tefillin. They got them tefillin. How they get it? I don't know, but they got it. It's crazy. And where were they? Look at those people. Where were they? They were in the tunnels, in the pit. That's a sign of something is cooking. God is stirring the pot. Something is cooking. We should not be arrogant about it. Oh, that's okay. It's good, Mashiach. We should be very wary of it, very concerned with this, very aware of that, and keep on working and keep on doing something. God is stirring the pot. Something is happening. Don't fall asleep on the job. We have to understand that. And so this tragedy of salvation comes with going down. That's what happens. Salvation will come only when we go down. Not only, Hashem doesn't only escort us on the way down, but He actually initiates it. That's why you should not escape from the world. You need to bring the light into this desert, not outside of the desert, inside. We need to be involved with the people. We should not say, you know what, I'm not, and to that matter, yes, you know what, Shem on you to all these people who don't want to take part at the efforts in Israel of the soldiers to go in and to defend the country. It's, go help the people. Got to do something. Because this fact that people don't want to do it creates more division. Yes, go help. Nothing will happen. Don't hold yourself to be such a big thing. Let somebody else go to war. I'm sitting down in my kollel. I'm so much against this. And I don't care what you say. You like it, you don't like it. I don't care what you say. I'm saying what I think it is. You got to go and help your people. You got to go and help your people. What does it mean? What? Somebody else's son is not important than your son. Is more important than your son? Mazeh. Well, less important. Let him die and while what my son. It doesn't work like that.
They say they learn Torah, so they're protecting the whole nation this way.
So continue learning Torah while you're holding a book. There are many people in the Israeli army that wear kippot and are very religious people, and they're probably one of the best soldiers there, and it doesn't stop them. It's just an excuse. Don't use Torah as an excuse not to do anything.
And in the Midrash says, when the people coming and Hashem came to this town, show me where's your guards.
So let me tell you something. The biggest warriors of David HaMelech, the biggest warriors of Shlomo HaMelech were all generals. David HaMelech would not take a guy who doesn't know to be a soldier. He needs to know Torah before you become my soldier. But right now there is so-called Et la'asot l'Hashem eferu Toratecha. Right now it's time to do something. I mean, Am Yisrael right now is an existential crisis. Existential crisis. If there is a person, Chas v'shalom on Shabbat, you need to call an ambulance. You're going to say, excuse me, I'm learning Torah. You call an ambulance. I'm not. So the halacha tells you the following. Whoever needs to go in and clear the walls should be, first of all, the rabbis and the biggest Talmidei Chachamim. They're learning Torah. No, then you have to save the people. Right now, we are in an existential crisis. And we need to understand, we are going down. You need to come up. How are you going to come up? We're going to come up with this only in one thing. We're going to come up with this together. If we are not going to be together, we are all staying there. We're not coming out. How are we going to come together? You're going to go on my shoulders, and he's going to go on your shoulders, and then he's going to hold on, and then I'm going to go on your shoulders, and I'm going on his shoulders, then we're going to make like this until we go up. All together as one nation. The process of tshuva, as we'll learn today from Hosea, the process of tshuva means I take responsibility for my actions and I understand that my actions affect everybody and I see everyone as a Jew, as a part of me. Only then Hashem would help us. That's what Hosea says. Right? How do you say Hosea in English? Hosea. Yeah, like Jose, but Hosea, right?
But what they say is that this government, the religious, this and that, we don't have to go.
Listen,
the religion government,
this is just excuses. No, I know what people say. To make excuses, you can make excuses to do even the most horrible thing, anything. Don't make excuses. Take responsibility. Take responsibility. Be a leader.
Unless you're going to put over there the guy who has to learn 20 hours a day and 4 hours.
That's something else. Now, yes.
It is also Mr. Danevish for the learning Torah.
But this doesn't happen.
Like this.
That doesn't. Okay. 1 second. That doesn't happen. So now, when we say Ma'amakim Karaticha from the depths of Hashem, I'll call you. Ephraim, don't go. I need you for a minyan, right? So Parashat Vayeshev is really a lesson to life. When you are dealing with things, this is not a punishment. It's a mission. When you're going down, you're in a mission. When your clothing are being ripped, right? You know that there's a higher or better clothing being prepared for you. And the pit is just the beginning of the way to Malchut. And it says, V'yeh Hashem et Yosef, right? God was with yourself, and He could be also with you just as well, as much as you are. In the darkness, we all know the sentences or the words that people say. You know, I grew up in a very uncommon house. My house was not simple. Or, please don't remind me this part of my life. It was so bad, I don't want to remember it. I don't want to go back there, and so on and so forth. These are really expressions that we use to put a carpet or cover on a very difficult part of our lives, and sometimes very painful times of our life, and to really mark this point of our lives as meaningless. It's so bad I don't remember, it's meaningless, I don't want to remember this. But is it possible really to erase such experiences from yourself? On the other hand, there are some people that specifically from those challenges and from that difficulty, they grew up, they developed, they flourished, right? As Chazal says, "En Adam omed al divrei Torah, ela im ken ta'a b'hem." Right? As the Gemara says that in Masechet. Wow, Idan, Daf.
Samach Vav?
Close.
Nun Vav?
Mem Gimel. Anyway, so Amud.
Ben.
Ben, very good, very good. Tzadik ben Tzadik. Right? What does it mean? You're not going to learn, even Divrei Torah, you're not going to understand unless you're going to make a mistake. Some people don't want to make a mistake, so you're never going to learn. Even for Torah, you need to understand exactly only by making mistakes. In other words, you fail. Okay, so now the attitude is, am I going to blame others? Or I'm going to take responsibility and go back to learn and actually do the proper homework so I would not make a mistake again. Most people look for blames. Always this committee to investigate that, to investigate that. Take responsibility. That's one thing that we're doing. Sometimes just failure and falling down are really what makes us, that forges us, that make us strong to deal with the challenges of life. As Rabbi Tzadok says in Tzidkat Tzadik, right, that by the machshala הוא מבין שלקח נוצר לתקן את אותו דבר. By difficulties and by the fact that you fail and you stumble, you understand that this is what you need to fix. That needed to be fixed, and that lesson would not be taught to you unless you failed. The Rashash hears said on the word ben 17 shana, in other words, it was 17 years, and explains that these were the years of his youth. He was a teenager. Yosef was a teenager. That even if those teenagers seems to you useless, these are the years in which would form and shape your future. We are all 17 years old, and the years of our lives are really the foundation to our future. And the Rashash here adds that the first years are a reflection of what the person will be in the future. So guys, if you're still young, and people tell you, listen, humble yourself, slow down, you're going to get hit. Well, take this into heart. Because if you are, should I say, for lack of better words, a buffoon when you're 18 years old, you're going to be 80 years old and you're still going to be the same buffoon. You take this into heart, especially for you guys that are young. You haven't been in this game long enough to say, well, it's too long, I can't change it, which is baloney. Even if you're 80 years old, you can change it if you want. But since you're young, you change it because the future will be like this. You want your kid to have a good life? Fix your life, so your kid will have a chance, because you're going to be the example in which your kid will go. You're going to give the example to your kid. So if you want to have good kids, start with working on yourself before you're married. Not only before you have a kid, before you're married. Change yourself. Change yourself before it's too late. Change yourself before it's too late. Humble yourself. Accept this and change it. And he says, those years, he says, with all their challenges, give the person the tools to deal with everything in that will come in his way later on. So when mommy protects you, when you're a teenager, mommy doesn't allow you to do anything. You know basically that mommy is settling you for failure. You need to deal with difficulties. That's why I always say it's too bad that they don't have the draft, because if you're 18 years old, go to the army, go to the military. It's tough. It will toughen you up. You will deal with things when mommy is not there anymore to fix your bed. Well, it will make you into a man, into a responsible man. You don't fix your bed, everybody's going to get punished because of you. So 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, you're going to put the soap, bar of soaps in the socks and going to, swing it over your head until you're going to learn the lesson. That's how it works. They should have a draft, absolutely. If you don't wanna draft yourself into shape, that will be the good thing. So it's good to give your kids challenges when they're young. It's discipline. And you should know that spiritual growth can only happen when discipline is the platform on which it grows on. Without discipline, there is not going to be any spiritual growth. You can find spiritual people who don't have discipline. You can't. It's just impossible. Impossible. You want to have a good menuchat nefesh, like a yeshuva dat, be disciplined first of all. And that's something that is very important. Yosef didn't understand it. Yosef went to boot camp. Going to the pit, going to the Ishmaelim, going to Potiphar. That was boot camp for Yosef. And in a way, he had to put the brothers into a similar boot camp to really, shape him up. We're going to a war. We don't have time for this. We gotta toughen you up. We gotta get you ready. So even if a person fails and makes a mistake, if he's smart enough, he uses that as an opportunity to really grow. Every stage in your life, even if it's the most difficult stage of your life, is a part of the journey. And the journey is not to go from point A to point B, because you know what's the most important part in your journey is see things along the way. People want to go from A to B as soon as they can. There's no shortcuts in life. No shortcuts. Hardship is a part of growing up. Otherwise, you're going to become weak. So with a proper outlook to life, you could even turn the most difficult memories in you to building blocks of success and personal growth. If we're only going to be smart enough to see how Kadosh Baruch Hu guide us and has providence on us for every single stage, if we're going to be able to learn from those difficulties, we can take even the thistles and turn them into roses of success. And Yosef teaches us a tremendous lesson. Don't run away from darkness, but rather light it until you become the light yourself. Shabbat Shalom.